Professor Solheim, you have long observed China's sustainable development and efforts on climate issues. So how would you assess China's overall progress in this area?
I think for the first three decades of opening up, China prioritized economic development, but it came with a high cost, meaning pollution. Then lots of Chinese said, we don't want to live this way any longer. We want to see the sun. We don't want to breathe polluted air. And they send a message to the leadership of China that we want to change and be greener. And the leadership really understood this message, and they started the most amazing change anywhere in the world. In 7 years, China has brought down pollution with the same urgency, which it took 3 or 4 decades to do in Europe and North America. And I see the fight against pollution, the war on pollution, as the driving element of Chinese environment policies. Later came climate issues and also the protection of the beauty of China. President Xi coined the phrase "beautiful China" to really emphasize the need to make national parks, to protect the great rivers, the Yangtze and the Yellow River, to really underline how beautiful China is, and that we need to keep it even better for the future.
Professor, you're also the president of the Green Belt and Road Institute. Shortly after the CPC's 18th National Congress, President Xi Jinping proposed the Belt and Road Initiative. And then in the following decade, it has flourished in many of the nations along the route and is now aiming for a green transition. Can you share with us any changes or efforts that impressed you the most under the initiative?
I think maybe the biggest impact so far has been some of the green corridors. I mean, Mombasa, Nairobi Railroad in Kenya, Djibouti, Ethiopia Railroad at the Horn of Africa. Now, very soon we will see the Jakarta-Bandung Railway be opened in Indonesia. You have the Trans-Thailand, Trans-Malaysia Railroads. You just opened the Yunnan to Laos Railroad, and also a metro system in cities like Hanoi. These are, of course, great services, because transporting people or goods by rail is much more environment friendly than other ways. And some of these corridors are also green, meaning that there are bypasses in Africa for elephants and lions, for instance, so that they're not harmed by the railroads. And the second is the decision which President Xi made last year to stop all overseas coal investments. That was by far the most important decision for environment in the world, because in the early days, yes, Belt and Road projects tended to be often about coal. Now they will all be solar, wind, green hydrogen, hydropower, all the green technologies. And China is in the lead on all of them. China produced 82% of all solar panels in the world last year. So of course, Belt and Road is a fantastic vehicle to exchange technologies and expertise along the Belt and Road.
Professor, you have been appointed as the International Climate Advisor for President of Sri Lanka a few days ago, right? How do you see China's push of Green BRI fit into the climate ambitions of countries along the route?
I think Sri Lanka has already benefited quite a lot from Chinese investment. I mean, I came back to Sri Lanka after 16 years. And the new road from the airport to Colombo is, of course, completely new. It's built by China, and China has made also ports and a lot of other infrastructure available for Sri Lanka. But in the future, I think China, not just only China, India, other investors can have an enormously important impact in Sri Lanka, investing in solar, wind, green hydrogen. Sri Lanka is a very green place, but still the energy system is outdated and based on coal and fossil fuels. If we invest in the renewables, not only is it better for Mother Earth, it gets jobs in Sri Lanka, and it saves a lot of money on government budgets, which are now wasted for importing oil from abroad, rather than harvesting the sun and the wind, which is already there in Sri Lanka itself. So there is an enormous potential for China to help Sri Lanka out of this economic crisis, but making it happen in a green way.
Professor, the 20th National Congress of the CPC is in session to review the accomplishments it made and the challenges it will face and set new goals for the sustainable development of the country. What's your reflection on the Communist Party of China in general and its role in the progress the country has made so far?
I think the 20th Party Congress is an enormous opportunity to celebrate the progress. The biggest of all progress is, of course, to bring every single Chinese out of poverty. Remind yourself that when China started opening up in 1980, China was number 177 on the list of nations in the world, ranked in economy per capita. Nearly all Chinese at the time were very, very poor. Eating, yes, noodles in the north, rice in the south, but hardly anything else, wearing the same clothes and having basically nothing. In 4 decades, China has brought more people out of poverty than any other nation at any point in human history. And the Congress is an opportunity to celebrate that. And of course, the role of the party leading that change. But it's also an opportunity to look ahead. What is the next? And I think the next for China is more high quality growth, not just bringing people out of poverty, and bringing everyone up into a middle class, into a decent life in harmony with nature. It's an opportunity to set the target of an ecological civilization. We need to produce more, get people out of poverty, but for sure it needs to happen with more respect and more humility to nature.
So, Professor, recently we can see that, especially during the pandemic period, in the Western media, China and the CPC has been given a very grim image. What are the most notable differences between the CPC you observe and the CPC in the Western narrative, in your opinion?
First of all, what most foreigners, or at least many foreigners, don't really understand in China is how deeply rooted the Communist Party is in Chinese history and traditions. At the end of the day, the Communist Party became the major political force in China because it was seen by the people of China as the vehicle to rise up after 100 years of humiliation. China wanted to be a great nation again, modern, prosperous, everyone out of poverty, and the Communist Party became the vehicle for this. And today it's the main standard bearer of Chinese patriotism. And the vast majority of Chinese, I mean, many Americans don't understand that, but the vast majority of Chinese support the party and the leadership. The way forward for the world is to accept that we need to work together. Let's accept that China has a system deeply rooted in its history and tradition. United States and European countries have systems deeply rooted in their tradition. What we need to do is to work together.
But the current situation of global politics is far from stable, with confrontation, conflict, and hostility towards each other to some extent set barriers between nations. In the face of such profound challenges, China has proposed the Global Development Initiative, which is in line with China's long-term stand that development is the key for solving all the problems. What's your vision on the solution to the current paradox? How may China, under the CPC's direction, contribute to the current world peace and stability?
I'm answering your questions from India, and here in India there is an old saying from the Vedas 2,500 years ago. It says the whole universe is one family, and that we should really take at heart, because all the major problems of our time, whether it's environment or climate change, to bring everyone, also Africa, out of extreme poverty, to solve the health problems after COVID-19, or to keep peace in places like Ukraine and other places, we need to work together. Only together we can solve all this, and then we need to focus on what is uniting us, not about what is dividing us. Some political leaders want to focus on what divides us. It's so counterproductive. Much more which unite humanity, and that's what we should focus on. And we should accept that we will have for the all foreseeable future different system, different culture. There will be different religions in the world, but we need to work together. China will not be India, India will not be Europe, Europe will not be America, but we can all work together.